Welcome to our analysis of the new calculus of power, focusing on indigenous arms and multipolar deterrence in the Middle East. Today, we'll examine a fundamental shift in regional security dynamics as Middle Eastern nations move away from traditional dependency on foreign powers toward strategic autonomy. This transformation has profound implications for regional stability and the balance of power across the entire region. The Middle East is experiencing a dramatic security transformation. Historically, the region operated under a paradigm of dependency and asymmetry, where states relied heavily on external powers like the United States and Russia for advanced weaponry. This created an imbalance that favored nations with access to Western air power, while others like Iran developed asymmetric capabilities to compensate. Today, we're witnessing a new paradigm characterized by proliferation and industrialization. There's a widespread push for indigenous military industries and advanced missile programs, driven by perceived American disengagement and the need for economic diversification. This shift is creating a far more complex multipolar deterrence environment that challenges traditional security arrangements. Ballistic and cruise missiles have emerged as the primary tools for power projection in this new landscape, creating an interconnected regional threat matrix. Israel maintains a sophisticated arsenal, including the nuclear-capable Jericho series and submarine-launched Popeye turbo cruise missiles. Iran possesses the region's largest and most diverse missile inventory, with close to medium-range capabilities, using proxy forces to extend its strategic depth. Saudi Arabia, historically reliant on Chinese imports, is now building domestic missile infrastructure. The strategic impact is profound. Missiles offer power projection without risking expensive aircraft or pilots. The increasing accuracy of these systems, proven by the 2019 Aramco attack and the 2020 Ain al-Assad strike, has fundamentally destabilized traditional deterrence models that were based on air superiority. Regional powers are pursuing distinct strategies of military industrialization, each with unique motivations and prospects for success. Egypt, the assembler, focuses on licensed assembly of foreign systems like M1A1 tanks and Rafale jets, primarily motivated by economic considerations to sustain the military's commercial empire with U.S. foreign military financing. The Arab Organization for Industrialization leads these efforts. Saudi Arabia, the visionary, has launched an ambitious Vision 2030 initiative aiming to localize 50% of military spending, moving from passive offset agreements to large-scale co-production. This is driven by desires for strategic independence from the United States and economic diversification, with SAMI as the key entity. The UAE, the up-and-comer, takes a pragmatic approach focusing on maintenance services, niche systems, and strategic acquisition of foreign firms. Motivated by economic diversification and aspirations to become a regional technology hub, EDIC leads these efforts. Egypt's defense industry operates as a sprawling economic enterprise producing both military and civilian goods, heavily subsidized by $1.3 billion in annual U.S. foreign military financing. The core competency lies in licensed assembly and co-production, including M1A1 Abrams tanks and Rafale fighter jet components. While historically U.S.-centric, Egypt is diversifying its strategic partnerships with growing ties to China on projects like the K-8E trainer jet. However, there's a significant paradox. Despite decades of activity, Egypt remains a third-tier arms producer, fulfilling its needs primarily through imports and assembly rather than indigenous research and development. The goal is sustainment, not autarky, creating capability without achieving true technological independence. The UAE pursues strategic autonomy through targeted acquisitions, pragmatic partnerships, and a focus on becoming a regional export leader. In 2014, the creation of EDC consolidated 16 state-owned firms into a streamlined entity focused on maintenance and repair operations, unmanned systems, armored vehicles, and precision munitions. The UAE strategically acquires foreign firms like Italian drone manufacturer Piaggio Aerospace and French shipyard CMN to gain technology and intellectual property rights. Unlike its neighbors, the UAE actively partners with non-traditional suppliers like South Africa and Serbia to acquire technology with fewer restrictions. Importantly, the UAE is an active arms exporter with battle-proven NEMR vehicles and a growing customer base across the Middle East, North Africa, and Eastern Europe. Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 signals immense ambition, but faces significant challenges in translating spending into capability. The vision includes a top-down mandate to localize 30 to 50% of military production by 2030, driven by frustration with U.S. restrictions and a desire to break the monopoly of international companies. The kingdom is moving beyond passive offset agreements to active co-production through joint ventures with Ukraine, Turkey, and South Africa. However, structural hurdles remain formidable. Saudi Arabia lacks a deep civilian industrial base and struggles with a shortage of qualified local STEM talent. Success depends on overcoming these deep-rooted issues, not just capital investment. As one European analysis noted, Saudi attempts at arms production often fall into either risk aversion or pipe dreams categories. A significant Egyptian military buildup in the Sinai Peninsula is challenging the security arrangements of the 1979 Camp David Accords. Egypt has significantly increased its military presence, citing the need to combat terrorism from ISIS Sinai and secure the Gaza border. This includes deployment of tens of thousands of troops, up to 40,000, along with tanks and advanced weapon systems. The infrastructure has expanded dramatically, with bridges over the Suez Canal increasing from 12 in 2010 to over 60 today, along with strategic highways enabling rapid force projection. While this buildup was initially coordinated with Israel, the scale and introduction of advanced strategic weapons are now viewed in Jerusalem as a potential treaty violation and a long-term threat. The Sinai militarization is viewed through two contrasting lenses. From the Israeli perspective, it represents a violation of the treaty. The core argument is that Egypt's buildup is a unilateral violation of the Camp David Accords, eroding Israel's strategic depth. Key concerns focus on the introduction of advanced systems like the Chinese HQ-9B air defense, which isn't for counterterrorism but threatens Israeli air superiority. Israeli officials point to indoctrination of Egyptian officers focusing on preparation for future war against Israel, questioning the need for submarines and tanks in counterterrorism operations. The counter-narrative presents this as a manufactured crisis. This view argues that Israeli warnings are politically motivated and not based on official intelligence. Egypt justifies its military presence as necessary for counterterrorism and preventing Gaza spillover. Critics note that arguments about protecting gas fields don't hold water, and the real danger lies in a concerted effort to manufacture tension between Cairo and Jerusalem. Egypt is acquiring and developing advanced capabilities that could shift the regional military balance. First, advanced air defense through the Chinese HQ-9B long-range system incorporating Russian technology creates a potential anti-access area denial bubble over Sinai and parts of southern Israel, challenging Israeli Air Force freedom of operation as a strategic, not tactical capability. Second, air power modernization through acquisition of 30 advanced Rafale F-3R fighter jets from France with enhanced air-to-air missiles having 120 to 145 kilometer range. Egypt isn't just buying platforms, but locally manufacturing parts, signaling a deepening industrial base and move towards self-reliance. Third, indigenous missile development through the Rada 300 rocket artillery system, described as parallel to the U.S. HIMARS with 300-kilometer range, giving Egypt precision-guided long-range strike capability, with key concerns about the nature of warheads it could carry. The Sinai Fulcrum demonstrates a region-wide shift from predictable, externally managed rivalries to a more complex and volatile era of indigenous deterrence. The macro trend shows that the drive for strategic autonomy, fueled by missile proliferation and indigenous industrialization, is the defining feature of the new Middle East security environment. At the meso level, national strategies including Egypt's assembly approach, the UAE's acquisitions, and Saudi Arabia's ambition are creating new capabilities and supply chains independent of traditional Western oversight. The micro-consequence is that Egypt-Israel tension isn't an isolated dispute, but a direct result of these trends converging, with an assembler nation deploying advanced non-Western systems challenging the qualitative military edge of a regional power and rewriting the rules of a 45-year-old peace. This new paradigm increases the risk of miscalculation. As regional powers develop and deploy their own advanced systems, old red lines become blurred, and deterrence becomes a dangerously complex, multi-sided equation managed by the regional actors themselves.